So there we are. Good afternoon once again to all the students first, and then the teachers who are present here. Let me, in a sense, it's very unusual for us to be meeting the time when India has on every list of cities dominated on this, what you call this tally of the world's hottest cities. We have nearly 90 locations in the country today. If I look at the April 2026 report, just last month's report, and these extreme temperatures are not something we can account for, barring the fact at a direct correlation of how we have denuded our forests and therefore weakened our rivers. And in the process, therefore, this complex, ecosystem of natural linkages have been disrupted, broken, decimated, I would say, in many parts of central India and in other parts. If you look at this list of hottest cities, and anyone can look it up on any website today, you will find that many of those cities come in that area of Wardha of Maharashtra, and then to its east and northeast into parts of central India. Of course, Rajasthan, I mean, you would expect it to be so. Well, today's session, in a sense, will be about how we are we all try together, students, teachers, Nitya, Jacob, the faculty, everyone, to understand what this history of architecture of water has been for India. You will see that, when Nitya presents, there is a very fascinating understanding of it that he has sort of secured, gained over maybe 25 years of work in this domain. He wrote a book in 2005, I think it was, or 2006. Penguin published it, called Jal Yatra. Now, Jal Yatra was a story to his in his own ways of narrating it. He says he just decided that he will travel across many districts of India, meet people who are working in domains that related to water. And well, there is the book, I think, yes, A Journey Through India's Water Wisdom. I will recommend any of you to look it up in Amazon. I think you will get a soft copy of it. I won't know the price just now. I don't know if hard copies are available. It's about 20 plus years old as a book that was published. Now, the reason I'm saying this to you is beyond listening to Nitya Jacob today, I'd like you to see how you will want to explore through this book the stories that he will offer on what you can do or to understand the complexity of the continent, subcontinent itself. Water is absolutely essential, and I'm not going to explain that to you today, but if you look at your city, if you're living in Delhi, for example, more than 55% of the energy that New Delhi consumes every day is thanks to water, the distribution of water, the pumping of water from its rivers. Every single thing to do with water is about energy. Water is never about water. The other thing that he will explain perhaps in another section of the presentation that I requested him to make is that water about water, but water is about water management. Therefore, it's about either management of water or energy takes precedence if you have to have water at your tap. I will not want to say more. You can look him up. Nitya Jacob is available. There are about 20 to 25 pages on the web that you will find if you search for him. Nitya, can you turn on your coming face out there? Nitya is talking from somewhere to the north of Goa. He and his wife, Sunetra, she's also a lady who works in this domain of water. She's linked to water and water policy and such. She has been working on these areas for 20 years and plus. He has worked with UNICEF, many other organizations. I'll not go into the details. I'm sure Yatin will put up his profile on the chat box once he
Yes, yes.
begins to talk. Dr. Jyoti, one quick word from you, maybe 1 minute or so, on what you believe as an architect yourself, the students of architecture as well as of engineering have to be sensitized to when it comes to this precious white liquid. What do you think they have to be learned? And what do you believe are your expectations of this presentation from Nitya Jacob? Over to you, Dr. Jyoti.
Thank you, sir. I would like to
say that water is very important for nowadays in the present scenario of global warming and the climate change. In our architecture student, we are focus is on the Babli system, history of architecture, how we preserve water, water harvesting. So from Nitya sir, I would like hear some of the parameters regarding these aspects, how we conserve our water, how we can use our water for the future generation, and the coming points. Thank you,
Lovely.
sir.
Very, very nicely sort of captured. Over to you, Nitya. That I'm sure the students will be wanting to listen to you and learn and take it forward in their own ways into their futures.
Thank you, Hari. And you made very big shoes for me to try and fill. And thank you also to the PGMT Trust for organizing this, and to Payalji and Dr. Singh. I think Dr. Singh has put out a very specific question, and I hope that the presentation and the movie that I had made for Jal Yatra partly answer it, and then of course we can get further into aspects on Q&A thereafter. In fact, I thought I should do some of the questions, and the students there could actually do the answers, give answers from their experience, and then we can have a discussion like that, instead of just a regular Q&A where people are asking questions and I'm struggling to answer them. So I think, like Hari said, well, I've been working on water-related issues now since 2004, actually a little longer, since 93, 94. And I got interested in this topic, which seems to be a bit esoteric, because I was working for a magazine called Down to Earth, which is brought out by the Center for Science and Environment in Delhi. I was there when it was launched, and I was sent off by the director of Center for Science and Environment, this environmentalist called Anil Agarwal, who was a brilliant person and an extremely difficult person to work with, I must say. So he sent me around this time in 93, just a month after I joined the magazine. The magazine still wasn't out. So me and the photographer, we were told to go and travel in Rajasthan and experience what it's like to live in Rajasthan in the middle of summer in May, where the temperatures go up to 45, 46, and 43 is considered to be a cool day. So I said, okay, we'll drive. And I had a Maruti 800. So we drove. And I had, through some foresight, we had a big canister of water, those old thermoses which hold 5 liters. And we drove from Delhi to Jodhpur, to Jaipur, to Jaisalmer, Bikaner, and back. And that was probably the hottest ride I've ever had of my life. It was like, we were driving in the day and sleeping at night, but it was really, really hot. Anyway, so we came back. I saw a lot of things in Rajasthan. I met a lot of interesting people who I'm still in touch with, some of whom I'm still in touch with. Very interesting people, most of whom are working on water issues, of course, in Rajasthan, and trying to conserve what little rainfall is there using traditional means. And traditional means in Rajasthan, like we'll see in the short movie that I made from the pictures I've taken in the book, and then thereafter we can have a discussion. Those traditional means are very purpose-built. So traditional does not mean it's some fuzzy romantic notion of huts and forts and palaces. It goes much beyond that. So people had very specific structures for different uses of water. And we saw a lot of those, but I missed one very important one, and I got an earful from Anil for that, which is a very ingenious device which collects and stores rainwater underground, and it is used exclusively for drinking. Now, that particular kind of structure is unique to certain parts of Rajasthan where rainfall is very little. And it's also it's a lost art, because people now get piped water, Har Ghar Jal, and therefore they don't need these structures anymore. But whenever there's no water in the taps, they immediately turn to these devices, because if there's rainfall, there's water in the well. And if there's no rainfall, of course, there's no water. So thereafter, from that point onwards, I always made it a point to bring water into everything I was doing, into all my work. And when I switched from journalism to the NGO sector, I focused on water related issues. Floods and droughts. Climate change was not such a big deal back in 99 as it's become now. But floods, droughts, and other water sharing, water conflicts, groundwater issues, water pollution, all these had become pretty big issues even back then. And people were trying to were struggling with ways to find solutions and try and scale up those solutions. And I met lots and lots of NGOs, companies, government officials across the country, all struggling with a common theme of how to conserve water at scale. Everybody can do it at home or in a building or in one part of a town. How do you scale it up to a citywide approach or a statewide approach? And that took much, much longer for people to try and understand that there are certain things that you can do at a city level or at a state level to conserve water. None of those work at the national level because India is such a diverse country. You have the hills, the Himalayas at one end, then you have the coastal areas at the other end, then you have deserts and forests and dry areas and hard rocky areas, alluvial plains, all kinds of different geological structures in between. It's impossible to have one type of water management structure or one type of structure that will help you to conserve and store and make water available through the year. But what was interesting is that everybody was speaking about conserving rainwater because all our fresh water comes from rain. It either falls as ice or snow or it falls as liquid rain. So everybody was seized of the matter, as they would say, to conserve rainfall. And therefore, a lot of the work had looked at various means of storing rainwater, either through lakes or ponds, which are the more obvious ways, or if it was on a slope, by making contour bunds or check dams or swales or all those kind of structures to be able to store rainwater, improve the groundwater level, and thereby manage water better, reduce floods and droughts, mitigate floods and droughts. But again, like I said, these were all very localized attempts. There were a few villages here, a few taluks there, a few districts here that were good cases. Nobody had actually managed to go across the country and actually come up with a plan which says, okay, for this kind of terrain, this will work, and for that kind of agricultural, eco-agricultural zone, that will work. And this fragmented approach was really frustrating. Center for Science and Environment, meanwhile, came up with an excellent book called Dying Wisdom, which looked at traditional means of water harvesting, water storage, water management. And there is this gentleman in Rajasthan called Rajendra Singh, who runs an NGO called Tarun Bharat Sang. He had embarked in 2004 on a mission to build a network of water warriors, he called them, across the country. So he started from his ashram in outside Alwar and went right around the country. And I accompanied him on some of his travels. So the idea for my book, Jal Yatra, came out of that campaign of his, this national campaign. And he was one of the important resource people for me to be able to get in touch with people in different parts of the country. The other big resource was Dying Wisdom. And these were the two main sources of secondary information to which I brought my skill as a communicator to say that, look, hey, there are all these wonderful volumes written on India's water wisdom, water practices, water management, and all that kind of stuff, which nobody reads. They stay in libraries, like in SPA's library or in Delhi University's library or various other university libraries. And maybe if somebody is interested in water, they'll pick up a book and take a look at it. Otherwise, nobody's bothered. So I said, can we do something for the common person and demystify this whole thing of water management? Now, I made one cardinal mistake. I went to Penguin and they bought the idea. They gave, unfortunately, the title Exploring India's Traditional Water Management Systems. And promptly, when I went back after the book was distributed to Penguin, I couldn't find it in the water section. I couldn't find it in the travel section, which is where it should have been. It was in the management section. Now, management students are not interested in water. So it was a bit of a struggle with Penguin to try and bring it out of the management section and put it somewhere else. But eventually that happened, and the book did sell a modest amount. But the point was that a big publisher like Penguin, also this was a very niche topic, and even for them to try and sell this it was a bit of a challenge. Anyhow, I think Amazon had just come into India, and I managed to put it on Amazon. And what Hari had shown is now available. It's you can order it off Amazon, and at some point, I think I'll share the link in this chat. So my idea was to write an ecological travelogue, and I sat down and selected 8 locations. One was urban, because most of our English readership still is in urban India. And I looked at Delhi because it offered a nice continuity of water management going back several hundred years. And it had a nice combination also of architecture and water, or architecture for water down the century. And then I looked at other cities or other states. There was Tamil Nadu, which is fascinating from the architecture point of view. There was Chambal in central India, which is not architecturally rich, unfortunately. Shillong, which has interesting design for water management. Shekhawati, I think if people have been to that part of Rajasthan, there is plenty of fascinating structures to look at, and I can explain some of them. There was Goa, which is an interesting management concept for water. Uttarakhand, again, which offered interesting designs and architecture, and Bundelkhand. So in Bundelkhand, I had the good fortune to try and juxtapose water management structures, water storage structures, with the old temples at Khajuraho and the other palaces that were made by the Chandela Rajputs about 800-900 years ago. So there was a lot of architecture, there was a lot of religion in water. And that's something else that was quite interesting, that all the religions that we have in this country, they give a lot of importance to water. So water is used for purification, it's used for washing, it's used during pujas or prayers, it's used after pujas and prayers, and at various stages. And I think I won't go into details there because that was not the thrust of the book. The thrust was to try and talk about how people traditionally managed water. So I think, I think that would be the kind of a quick summary. I had also the good fortune or the good sense to take a lot of photos at that point, because now it's impossible to go back to all those locations, and maybe some of those practices or places don't even exist, and take pictures again, much as I'd like to. So I took a lot of photographs of the water structures I had seen, along with taking interviews of people. And I have, mercifully, it was all digital, so those photographs are still around. And a few years ago, I decided I should make a short presentation, which I then converted into a film. And that kind of takes you on the same journey around the country and encapsulates what I had seen back then. I think we could start with the video, and then we can have a quick round of discussion, and then look at the presentation that you were speaking about, Hari. Does that sound okay? Okay.
Yes. Should I run the video now?
Yeah, please run the video
Okay.
now.
Okay.
How long is that video?
It's 10 minutes, little under 10 minutes.
Do you want to take in 10 minutes now, or would you want to send it to people as a link later? And,
I
or speaking to them, or I'll leave it to you.
I can, if I can fast forward through it, then
Yes.
It's only text, so we can actually fast forward.
You'll have to then guide him on what you want him to be sharing.
All right. So if you run the video, you could maybe run it. We can skip through also. We don't have to run the entire thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Please play it. Yatin, you can play it and he will tell you when to, because there is no audio. He might suggest you as to how to skim through.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a moment, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks.
In the meantime, I think we're all enjoying the heat island effect of all our cities, learning what it means to.
One feedback for you, Nitya, is that the link, some of them have tried, they're not, it says the book is not available on Amazon just now.
Okay, I'll maybe sometime during this, I'll look at Amazon and try and find the link for it.
Okay, if you can reactivate that, some of them might want
Yeah.
to go back and look at it later today or tomorrow. Over to you.
Okay, so we can play this. Now, just the point here is that India gets the most rainfall per square unit of land of any country. And this is not a random figure, it is from the meteorological department. And that means that we have enough water for everybody if we manage to conserve even if, say, 50% of that water. And back in the day, and this is not very far back, even as recently as 50 years back, people in India had developed local water harvesting and conservation structures. These were made by communities and they were managed by them. And this was not high technology. They used locally available materials and they used local knowledge, traditional knowledge which had been handed down to them. So this is a step well. I start in Delhi called Agra Sen Bauli, which is quite an old, it goes back a few hundred years in central Delhi. It was made for tapping into groundwater sources. This is Suraj Kund. The structure at the far side of the picture used to be a sun temple. This is about 1100 years old, and it's also a water storage structure. Badkal Lake, another artificial lake just outside Delhi. It's dry, it's completely dry now. This is a rainwater harvesting tank. And next to that is this beautiful structure, which was actually a pleasure palace for the Mughals. They would come here in the hot summer and have mangoes. And now you can see the condition of this place. This is another tank, a natural pond in South Delhi, well conserved. This is a fort. And if you're from Delhi, then possibly you've been to this fort, which also has its own way of water storage and provisioning. Because it was a fort, it needed water structures inside. So these were the baulis that were made within the fort. You can see it goes way down. In fact, it's been silted up. These were much deeper once upon a time. Now, in Rajasthan, like I was saying, that you have different water structures for different purposes. There's tankas for drinking, johars for bathing, talabs for non-potable purposes, irrigation and watering animals. So, tankas are these kind of satellite dishes with a little dome in between, under which there's a well. And the rainwater which collects in the flat area is stored in the well. This is a traditional tanka. So instead of having a cemented dome, it's a wooden dome. This is what a johar looks like. also used for human purposes, but then also for irrigation and watering animals. It also helps to revive groundwater. In all the forts of Rajasthan, there are talabs, and these collect and store rainwater, which is available to the inhabitants of the fort. The same structure, but not in a fort. This was in an open field. Now, this has become famous now. I think it's on the New Delhi-Bombay Expressway. A little step well, beautiful step well, made about 12 or 1300 years ago, taps water from the underground aquifers. And a similar step well in a place called Osian near Jodhpur. Okay, can we pause the video? So you're looking at all kinds of different water structures there. And in terms of trying to conserve them, I think that is where people with your skills would come in, Dr. Jyoti. Maybe if we can have a Q&A session on the kind of conservation work that architecture students can actually do. And more also importantly, how do you engage, 2 points in this, how do you engage the local community, and how do you make sure that the work that you've done is going to be sustainable? Means you will do a project and go. Now, who's going to look after it? Is there funding available? Is there local expertise available? How do you bring those aspects into the kind of conservation work that you do for this? Like you've seen, most of these structures, some of these structures are new, but most of them are very old. And therefore, they're in need of rebuilding, conservation, rehabilitation. There are different kinds of things that you'd like to do with them. So what is it? I mean, I would like to ask students here, the architecture, students of architecture who are going out, what is it that you think you can do as students coming into the profession to make sure that people understand the importance of water and that they conserve what is available to them? So perhaps Dr. Singh could share her ideas and then we can have a discussion. Others could come in as well.
The conservation of this type of structure is very important in the current scenario. There's a need of that, in my opinion.
How would you want to participate with Nitya Jacob on either a studio that you do within the school or where you undertake a project in one of these baulis or one of these areas?
So yes, sir. So both are the good options. Either go for option 1 or 2. Both are important. We can do some studio project as well as we go for the site also.
Lovely. The reason I'm asking this question is imminent now. In the next few weeks, you will be signing up with the Brain Drain Trust. And our Yatin Malik will sort of enable this process with Nitya Jacob. He does not live in Goa. I mean, he does not live in Delhi. He lives in Goa. But we will see how some interaction is enabled. Students will have tons of learning coming off it. Would you agree with me, Jyoti, on that?
Yes, sir. That will be wonderful, sir. That will be wonderful.
Lovely.
I think it would be really great if we could find a structure in and around Delhi where I think PGMT is located and use that as a test case to see how it can be conserved. And first, why has it fallen into disuse or disrepair? And once we understand that, then we work on a restoration plan. And I would also like to emphasize that in any restoration plan, we'll have to bring the government in. It could be the municipality, it could be the state government, it might have to even be the union government. And I think somehow we'll have to engage them because ultimately, if you look at it, it is their responsibility. The community can be custodians, but the government has to actually put in the resources, and people like us can guide the use of the resources. So to build a partnership, I think that would be really, really crucial. And I think we could pick a place and use it as a test bed. While I was in Delhi, we did do a similar thing with that water body you saw earlier, Neela Hawes, which is a natural pond. That pond had got filled up for the Commonwealth Games back in 2009. And we were very alarmed because I was staying in Vasant Kunj, and that's a very dry area and groundwater is scarce. And this was one of the few natural ponds. So we took DDA, the Delhi Development Authority, we took it to court to say, hey, listen, you're doing a great job making this wonderful flyover, but why have you destroyed the water body? We want you to restore the water body. And then we had a lot of mobilization of citizens. We got water experts, we got forest experts, and all these people together. Eventually, the water body has been restored, and then those are pictures of you saw of the restored water body. Much better than it used to be, much bigger also than it used to be. It guess where the water comes from. It's rainwater, yes, but Delhi, it barely rains anymore. But just a question back to you, where do you think the water comes from now? And Hari, you're not allowed to answer this. It's for the students. Anybody? Nobody wants to hazard a guess.
No, they will. Can I request students to see if you can raise hand? You'll find that little, and
Yeah.
we will allow you to talk. And we'll give you audio rights.
Any volunteers who would like to raise their hand and hazard a guess?
Yes, please.
Dr. Rajpal.
Yes, Rajpal. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Namaskar to you.
Hello. Good
Yes.
afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I'm Dr. Rachna from Maharashtra University, and I am an architect by profession. And I'm teaching here interior design students. So we also work with students, and I'm in academics. So I really wanted to add something. This is a little beyond what sir has said. I really like the presentation. And personally, when I had gone to Gujarat and Rajasthan, we had visited so many Bawlis. I still remember that the stepwell of Adalaj and all these temples and Baulis in Rajasthan, they actually they leave an everlasting impression in the mind. And this is very much related to, basically we can say it is climate responsive architecture, that people had made Baulis as rest areas, and women used to carry pots, maybe they used to carry the pots and then get water. So water management was very important from day one. And if you talk about about the river valley civilizations, they also started on the banks of river, whether we take Nile River Valley civilization or Indus Valley. So water management and the usage has been, like, water conservation has been an important part of the daily life. And if you talk about modern times, I recently had gone to Bali, and then there was a temple. I really don't remember the name of the temple, but it was like a place of heritage tourism, because people, like, we are also Hindus. So what happens is, we generally fall into the trap of visiting the Kund, and then as a tourist, we make it as a heritage place, and then we respect water and we offer water to the gods. So somehow I feel that those activities should also be incorporated with the students, and that should be encouraged.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Rajpal. But
There
I'll
is
go back.
also,
Sorry, Hari.
there is Dr. Madhuvanti Datta. She runs with the India Water Council. Madhuvanti, I am going to see if I can give you the audio rights so that you can speak. Is that possible? I've just done. You can just now turn on your audio, Madhuvanti, speak, and share with us your response to what Dr. Rachna said and what Dr. Jyoti was saying vis-a-vis students and training. Are you there? Yes, you are there now. Madhuvanti, you're there. Namaskar to you. Yes. You can unmute and speak. Yes, please. There you are. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. Namaste, everyone. Namaste. First of all, it's a very good presentation, actually, portraying out all the pictures along with exactly what we take a feel of water management. because history always speaks for itself. We always go back to history and we want to find out that how do we solve our present problems, keeping in mind the infrastructure which was very predominant in the historical period without much of innovations on R&D or any kind of AI, etc. help that they had taken. So that time calculative index was very important thing. Everything was calculated. If some place is drought prone, then depending on that, the water management was done like the Bowlies, etc. Similarly, I have also gone to the Gandhinagar Adalaj step well and also few of the step wells in Bhavnagar district, etc. So all these places, one thing is very relevant, not just the water management, but also the community participation that I always talk about. Everybody from every fields of places, like not only the royalty, not just the Rani and the Sevikas, or there were village women who were contributing to the amount of the water that is being effectively managed in that particular place. Religious festivals were organized surrounding these wells. The step wells, etc., so that more and more people could feel connected to that place and not just the royalty. So that takes us a literature from there that community participation even today, not just the government making its policies, making the infrastructure and making it available for the people, but also every field coming to the household level, coming to the grassroots level, everybody needs to participate in the effective management of water. So it is talking about an integrated water management system, water auditing. Yeah,
Yeah. One of the things, Madhvanti, that you should do is when we talk next week, I will
yeah,
suggest this. At the Indian Plumbing Association, of course, Gurmeet Singh knows Payal Jain for 25 years, not yesterday or today. Okay.
right.
And our Nitya Jacob lives in Goa, not even 20 minutes from wherever the center is going to be when you create it. So
So,
on that top floor, what we should do is allocate a bit of space to see that we showcase this kind of thing that Nitya is talking about, so that students of architecture, engineering in that region of Western India can also benefit from such learning. We'll look at
absolutely.
such a possibility.
There's a huge literature taken from the Indian history, actually.
Yeah. We'll put that up. I will speak to Pailjain also about this, and then of course to Nitya. We'll see how we can make these things happen there.
Definitely,
Uh,
definitely.
Yeah. I know there is much more that Nitya wants to present, but I will request another distinguished leader here, Jamie O'Brien. If you are here, I know. He's from Jaipur, Nitya, and he must be blazing away at some 50 plus degrees just now. He yeah.
Well,
Yes. Go
well,
on, please.
well, to begin with, it's been a very pleasant day. It rained yesterday,
Absolutely.
and we are not more than 40 today. Well, Nitya, it's a very fine presentation, which I've been seeing over the past 35, 40 years, whether it be the Tankas of Jaisalmer, Jodhpur, Barmer, and the step wells all over I've seen. I've done, and of course, Gujarat, Saurashtra for that matter. Well, there was I just want to put in one word that both the Amer Fort, which you showed, just for the knowledge of the audience, that water from the Amer lake or that place was lifted about 400 feet. And how it was done was that at every 40, 50 feet, there were these oxens who would go round and round and they carry that water in those sacks, which were about 100, 140 of them, and fill up that well. And then again to another 40 feet up, another 40 feet up, another 40 feet. I mean, it was amazing. That should be shown also. I'm sure, Mr. Nitya, you must have seen this happen. That's how the Amer Fort was given water. Another very surprising thing is about Jaigarh Fort, where you see no one's talked about it, but they also have step wells there, and after those step wells, they have a network of canals at that height, which is feeding the entire the palace and the people there. So some light should be thrown on that, or if you want, I can ask someone to give you more information. But otherwise, Nitya, it's an excellent presentation. HH, you are so right. We must make the people aware of it. I've seen these tankas, I've seen the bowlies. Yes, one more very surprising thing, which I have noticed in the past 1.5 years, traveling from Delhi to Jaipur or Agra to Jaipur and within the state of Rajasthan, is the awareness of the people in a newer technique. You see, what they're doing is that if someone has about 30,000 square yards of land and he's growing, it's a field. What he's done is that about 30% of that land, he's dug it, lined it, and he stores the water there during the rainfall, because the rainfall has been pretty good in this area for the past 7-8 years, and utilizes the rest of the year. So I used to stop by and ask him. He says, "नहीं sir, पूरा साल निकल जाता है कब?" तो मैंने कहा पहले तो नहीं होता था ये, कि हाँ सर पहले नहीं होता था. एंड अमेजिंग पार्ट इज, बोलता साहब पहले पैसा नहीं होता था बनाने के लिए, आज पैसा आ गया. So I was so happy that these people have the money. और सब आजकल बैंक भी पैसा देता है. तो साहब जबकि हम ये टाका बनाते हैं, हम बहुत schemes है. Actually, that's very good. I didn't know of that the banks were encouraging that. So that's my 2 pennies worth in. Sorry, I joined in slightly later. I just got stuck someplace.
No, I'm very happy that you did join and
Nitya,
offer your insights.
and when you visit Jaipur sometime, Mr. Jacob, do let me know. It'll be a pleasure for me to take you around and meet you, etc., etc.
Certainly.
Sure. To the rest of you, he's a very distinguished person sitting out there in Rajasthan. He has been driving many things on sustainable buildings and so on. He's the one who created that, that very expensive hotel. I think it sells at $1,000 a night, called the Oberoi Palace. From scratch, he built that entire thing for MS Oberoi.
Rajvilas.
The man with the O. He's the man with the U and he's the man with the O. So for MSO, he built that, and then he's done many such hotels, for the luxury hotel range. He's also running one very boutique kind of eco hotel just now in Jaipur. He created also the ICICI Foundation's extremely eco-conscious building. Many of your students might want to visit Jaipur and ensure that you see those buildings that he has created. It will help you. It's a clear educational tour for many of you of those buildings that he has created.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you. That's so kind of you. One more thing, the Oberoi Rajvilas, when we did it about 96, Mr. Oberoi was so conscious at that time that there was a small little there was a small little pond. And the whole hotel has come up around that pond, because that pond was largened, it was lined, so on and so forth. And they collected water so that the entire vegetation could do. Although most unfortunately, the ground table has gone so low that today they are getting the water with the tankers, because government doesn't allow suction of water from the ground. And so that be it. And of course, as far as Jodhpur ICIC is concerned, I tell the students, it's a net zero waste and a net energy.
Yes.
Boys and girls, in a place like Jodhpur, we have created from that waste, it's total green all over the campus, and it's net zero as far as waste is concerned. We wanted to do water too, but it was not possible because of the desert area. But that be so. All are welcome to get in touch with me for any help you want, for any knowledge you want, for any way I could help you to it. Thank you.
Once the MOU is done, I'm sure, people like Dr. Jyoti, in fact, Rachna must get in touch. And we must see how we are able to cross-pollinate such ideas for the colleges and for the students. Back to you, Nitya. I know we claimed a little bit of your time, but this kind of networking or interacting is very good.
No, this is good stuff.
Okay. Back to the resuming of the film. You want to continue with what you were presenting, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, okay, as nobody has volunteered an answer to the source of water for Neela House, I will. It comes from the sewage treatment plant in Vasant Kunj. And it's a new sewage treatment. It was a new sewage treatment plant. And we had visited that to make sure that the quality of water which comes out of there, the treatment, it's secondary treatment, and the quality of water is pretty good. It can be used. It was certified by the Pollution Control Board for use as in the pond, to revive the pond, and also for groundwater recharge. Now, the interesting part is that this is the first pond in a series of cascades, which eventually goes into the Yamuna River. So also what we are doing indirectly is to try and improve the river water quality if we can manage that at the head of the entire cascade. So if It's good quality treated water going into the pond. In the pond itself, there's a fair amount of retention time, and then there's no additional pollution while it flows to the river. That is one small step to try and reduce the pollution in that poor stretch of water that is called the Yamuna River when it flows through Delhi. I think there were some very nice articles which showed how the moment the river enters Delhi, it picks up all the pollution from the Najafgarh drain, or the Sahibi River as the government wants to call it now, because all the water upstream of that is sucked out for use in the city. It's taken to multiple treatment plants and supplied around the city. A lot of it comes back through sewage outfalls into the river, and by the time it exits the city, the river is only a sewage canal, unfortunately. And that is the sad truth of a lot of our rivers here. Okay, so on to the next rather fascinating architectural part of India. So in Bundelkhand, now Bundelkhand is this central part of India, and at this time the temperatures are probably hitting about 50 degrees there. But it was a very vibrant kingdom. It was a series of kingdoms going back about 1500 years or even longer. The Rajputs, multiple Rajput kings ruled that part of the country. And they realized that it gets good rain, but it also gets incredibly hot. So they built lakes. And these are all artificial lakes, again built in cascades. The head of the cascade, to the right, there are a few hills to the right of the structure. You can't see them here. That is the catchment area. One small pond there collects the water, and then from there it flows into this rather large pond. What you see are the ruins of an old Chandela palace, which was probably built about a century ago. This is the kind of structures that they built to capture the water. And you can see that the sides are pitched with stone to reduce erosion. Now, this is what Mr. Oberoi was talking about a little while ago. Khet talais or khet farm ponds lined with, this one is not lined with plastic, it's lined with mud, with clay, so that it does not allow water to percolate in. It collects water, and the farmer there told me exactly the same thing, that they can use this water for most of the year and for agriculture. Now, there's an interesting story about this picture. Just pause the video for a minute, please. So here, this is also in Bundelkhand, in the UP part of it. This pond was, when I visited it in 2004, it was covered with water hyacinth and it stank to high heaven. It took them 1 year to completely restore this. And it was the local people who did it. It was led by one, that time he was a young boy. And now, of course, he's a grown-up, slightly older man. But he got a bunch of people together. They physically got in and cleaned out the water hyacinth. Dirty water was entering the lake. They stopped that and they put in a bioremediation section. So the water gets clean when it enters the lake. And the good part is now it collects rainwater and that other water which comes into it. People use that water for cooking now. And this woman is washing dal. They say that using the lake water to cook dal, it tastes better because it's soft water, it's rainwater. It tastes better than using water which comes out of a pipe or comes from the wells, because this is what they use for cooking. And it was fascinating. I mean, they think that the water is clean enough for cooking. And well, it was quite an eye-opener for me that the quality of water is also relative. You know, we think that water in a Bisleri bottle is drinkable, but a lot of people would happily drink or cook with this water also. And the other reason that they use this for cooking is that there are very strict social norms, social fencing for these kind of water bodies which are used for human purposes. You cannot go in there and bathe. You certainly cannot defecate. You cannot let your animals loose in these kind of lakes and ponds. So the water is reasonably clean and safe from contamination. I wouldn't advise any of you to go and drink it because I don't think your immunity levels are good enough to handle the whatever's in the water there. Okay, we can continue. Play, please. Yeah. This is way south in Tamil Nadu. You see completely different geography, but the same concept. Rainwater collected, fence around it so nobody can go in, no animals can go in, and even people only go in to collect water for direct consumption. The well there acts as a filtration system. So if they want drinking water, they draw from the well. This woman is just drawing a bucket for other household purposes. Again, in Kutch, in Gujarat, the same thing, the same principle applies. Again, no animals are allowed in here. So all these are used for human consumption, especially where water is extremely scarce. If you want to use this water for your animals, you have to cart the water home. So that's where you actually know the value of water. Now, it wasn't that people are only storing water. You also have to manage what you have if there's an abundance of it. And in Goa, where I am, you have ponds on the top of small hillocks called tolems. And from there, water flows through channels. These are betel nut plantations. Further down, it goes into paddy field. And then after that, it's used for prawn cultivation. And then it goes into the sea. So the same amount of water finds multiple uses. These are the Khazan gates, and this is a marvel. Just pause the video here for a minute, please. So this is a marvel of engineering, and it's made of wood entirely. Nothing else will be able to withstand saline water, brackish water, which is on one side. So in the window on the left side, you will see a little bit of garbage, and then there's an arch and there's water beyond. This side of the structure is saline water from the sea. Now, what happens is when at high tide, the gates close. The gates that you see in the right side window, they close and allow only a little flow of that saline water to go beyond into the pond behind it. What that does is two things. One, it helps in fish cultivation, saltwater fish, prawns, and those kind of creatures, which the farmers can then harvest. The other thing it does is it flows onto the paddy fields. And in the dry season, it helps to kill off all the weeds so that your use of pesticides is minimized. But when the tide goes out, the gates open, and fresh water, which is stored in the river, which is this is all in the low-lying areas where the river meets the sea, rivers meet the sea. The fresh water from the river flushes the saline water out, and therefore the salinity drops and the soil can be cultivated. People actually put fishing nets on the outside of these Khazan gates, and they catch whatever fish is going out, and that becomes their source of protein. So you can grow rice, and the type of rice they grow here is a little salt resistant, so it can grow pretty well. You can grow rice and you can have fish. So these two important sources of nutrition are what people in this part of the world used to live on. Of course, it's changed now with commerce and things. But these Khazan gates are still visible in some parts of Goa. And it's quite a fascinating structure. They've been around for a few hundred years, made entirely of wood. They still have carpenters who can work these structures and make sure that they remain operational. So we can continue. Then on the other side, in Meghalaya, the most abundant building material is bamboo, and it's extremely versatile. So what farmers there do, they usually cultivate betel nut, which is a cash crop. And they make this structure, it's like a lattice work of bamboo, which channels water from a spring to the different bamboo, to the betel nut palms, and it provides exactly the right amount of water that the palm needs to survive. The same plantation, you could have betel nuts and bananas and various other crops. But it's a fascinating lattice work of bamboos. Okay, just pause for a minute. So we've seen that in high rainfall areas, water is managed. There's not so much emphasis on storing water. And I think, but that's kind of changed now. People are realizing that you need to control water flows and make sure that they store some amount of rainfall as well. In places like Goa or Meghalaya, where there's a lot of rain, it's a little difficult to store too much of the rainfall because you'll be easily overwhelmed. But people are making rainwater harvesting structures, either at the household level or at the community level, depending on what their requirements and what their means are, how much money they actually have. It's expensive to make rainwater harvesting storage because you need to have a physical structure, either made of plastic or cement or steel, and that pushes up the cost. But the advantage is that water is not does not require any treatment before you actually use it. You can either cook directly with it or you can drink it without any further treatment. So you reduce costs there, but the cost of storage there is a fairly high cost associated with that. The other way to do it is to recharge groundwater, and then that water is available to you later in the year during the dry season through wells or ponds which are fed through underground streams. Now in Uttarakhand again, the problem was not of availability of water. The problem was of managing what is there. And this beautiful marble square structure is called a dhara. This is the point where streams are actually harvested. They come into this square structure, and it was completely covered with wire netting so that monkeys and cows and other animals cannot get in and dirty the water. So people use this for or used this for drinking, and they could either fill their utensils from the spouts or from the well. The overflow from this went to another trough a few steps below, which was used for watering animals. So animals could go there and drink, and then it went into the fields further down. Okay, we can continue. Now, this is also associated with temples. Next to this is a temple, and I've also seen that Tungnath, which is one of the Char Dhams, it had the same kind of structures, two of these beautiful dharas with brass spouts. Now, hydrants are mechanical devices which lift water from a flowing stream up the slope, so that they can go up to about 40 feet or 60 feet or 80 feet, and that water is used for irrigation. These are purely mechanical. They don't need any electricity. I don't think they're being manufactured anymore because of electricity, so everybody has power lift pumps now.
Are we moving next? Yeah.
Yeah, it's moving.
It's moving. Okay.
Okay, I think Dr. Jyoti had spoken about visiting temples and seeing that water is very sacred. And that is what I saw. So that all ponds have a small temple, or all temples have a pond, a big or small pond. Same goes for mosques, the same goes for churches. I'm not sure about Buddhism, but I'm sure they also follow the same pattern. And this is repeated across the country. So if we can just go back a little bit to the, a little forward. Okay, let's play. I'll tell you when to pause. Now you can keep playing it. Okay, so this is the This is that Chand Ki Bauli carvings. This is a Jama Masjid, the pond where people do their wuzu. Keep going. Yeah, pause. So in Tamil Nadu, all these magnificent temples are accompanied by a pond here. And like you can see, this is a lovely place. It's all stone, so the pond is actually the only break from the stone, and people actually like to come and just sit around there after they've gone to the temple or before they go to the temple. It's also used for purification rites. These are particularly fed by underground streams, and some of them still work. This was in Madurai, and I believe that this underground streams are still live. But they may be requiring tanker supplementation by tankers now. I'm not very sure about that. This was quite a while ago, almost 20 years. Yes, please play. Okay, just pause. Oh, that went off. Just need to go back a teeny bit to Fatehpur Sikri. No, the next. Yeah, pause. Oh, okay, never mind. So Fatehpur
You
Sikri.
can move by the right arrow, Yatin. That will be better for you. Instead of using the cursor, please use the right arrow and you move.
Yeah,
slowly.
pause. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Fatehpur Sikri, if you've been there, is another marvel of architecture built by the Mughals. And because it was so hot and dry, they realized that they need to do a lot of water conservation. So this was a stage, this is a stage that was made for Their Majesty's entertainment, where there would be song and dance performances. And below the stage, the entire area was filled with water, and therefore it was tolerably cool in the evenings. Also, below the structures that you see in the background, the entire area is hollow, and it used to get filled up with rainwater, which was used not for drinking or not for agriculture, but just to keep the entire structure cool because of the extreme heat. This is all sandstone, and sandstone is somewhat permeable, so it allows water, the cooling effect of water to actually permeate upwards. Yeah, please continue. So even in Christianity, St. Thomas used water to try and spread Christianity in Kerala 2000 years ago. Okay, we can pause, and any reflections about whatever you've seen so far? Maybe we could have a short discussion about it.
You're done with most of what you want to show, Nitya, as far as this part goes, and it's 8 minutes past the hour. Some interaction with the children, with the faculty, with the students and with the faculty will really help.
Yeah.
Many of you, as you have look at this, we still have about 30 people from the students section who are there. Any of you, please, would you want to raise your hand and we will enable you to speak? More than teachers, we will request you all to speak. Any of you here, please? Adrian, good evening. Nice to have you here. Adrian Machado, I know, is from somewhere near Mangalore. He works with about 1,000 farmers, and for him, storage of water is absolutely essential. As Mr. Jacob said, the challenge with water is rainwater and storage means that it's expensive and we need money for it. But there are ways of planning such things. Adrian, as a young professional, do you want to share anything with the students? If yes, you just raise hand and I'll ensure that your audio is enabled. Yes, Adrian? You have to raise hand there and I will help. Anyone else from among the students, please, who want to speak? As teachers here, Dr. Rachna, Dr. Jyoti, you all have to help. Nitesh, You have to get your students to speak if that's possible. Vineet Chadjar. Would you want to speak? Nitesh Rohila or Vineet Chadjar? Would you want to say something? Yes, you want to say something? No, no, no. Okay. Nitesh, Vineet, anyone who wants to speak, share some thoughts. It'll really help to understand what you will need and for him to see if he can add some value. Any students, please? No. There's a deafening silence. Always this happens. How do you manage that as teachers? When in a classroom, if they don't speak, what do you do, Rachna? Can you tell us? I need to learn that secret. Because I go to sessions like these, they don't speak. Tell us what will make them speak. Rachna Rajpal or Jyoti Singh.
Sir,
One of you. Yes, 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 please. Yes, please.
the only weapon we have is the attendance and the marks. That's
I
it.
know. I know.
And the submissions. That is the
Totally. You need,
only
yeah.
weapon we have. And but I think the project and one more thing is there, sir. Whenever we take up a project, whether it is a design thesis project or it is a design submission, so what happens is we encourage students to add the factor of sustainability in that project. And especially when the students, since I'm an architect, I teach them subjects like intelligent interiors and sustainable interiors. So what happens is whenever we take up a project, we take up all these how do you actually make a design which is like socially responsible design and which is ecologically good. And then what happens is conservation is also a part of that. So when we talk about conservation, so if there are some projects like thesis projects in which like people take up the renovation of a hotel or a haveli, which was actually a haveli long time back, but now it has been taken up by a hotel,
Sure.
and then they do interior project.
All
It
that
is
is
though,
fine, but how do you get them to speak? Do they speak at all? I mean, did God bless them
sir,
with a
sir,
decent voice
only
box?
only in their presentation, only when they have to give a final submission, when there is no
Wow.
other option. Yeah.
Uh,
So, sir, right
I
now
guess
what
it's a
happens is,
I guess
yes,
it's a
sir,
kind of
I feel this topic is very good, and somehow in design projects we can actually take up projects in which uh, this like if the tourism projects or some like water since we teach them B design and it is our subject is core subject is interiors, but then like water is used as a very good element and as a refreshing element in interior design also. And there are many buildings in we teach them many
sure,
case
sure.
studies in which, like for example, if we talk about Burj Khalifa, the water is used for like cleaning the glasses and for water shower and for a water fountain. So the importance of water is actually taught to the students in
But
various
until
projects.
until a year ago, Burj Khalifa didn't even have a sanitation system for their wastewater. They had to cart
Hmm.
out the wastewater to some place in the desert. That's Burj Khalifa for you, built, I
Hmm.
don't know, by some European architect. Yes, Binit, you want to speak. And then we will go back to Germany, sir. Yes, Binit. Yes, please. Yes, please.
So recently I've been to Jaisalmer to document Pani Ki Kahani Jaisalmer for a comic strip
Mhm.
with BBCOAN and Ayojan School of Architecture. So we made a comic strip and also a video movie on water. And then fortunately I was able to meet Mr. Farad contractor. He is still working there,
Mhm.
who is associated with Anupam Mishra and all. So I was able to connect
Absolutely. I'm
and
so glad you mentioned Anupam ji. He was
yeah,
the man who wrote, who made that book, that 1997
Yeah.
tract called "Dying Wisdom Apple." Yeah, go on, go on. Thank you so much for mentioning it.
I
Yes,
was
please.
able to connect those dots. Though in Ayojan School of Architecture, we had made three Pani Ki Kahani. One is
Mm,
Jaipur, primarily connecting the Amir's system. And then
mm,
apparently, we got to know one thesis from Urbana Champaign under Professor Amita Sinha. Nehar Ajura did a brilliant work in landscape from Urbana Champaign in US about
mm,
Amir, water system
mhm,
connecting geology and all.
mm,
So that is one. Then another was Pani Ki Kahani in Udaipur. We did, and what we are doing right now, we are engaging with public. And
Hmm.
we will do one Praladpura Bawdi in Jagatpura in Jaipur. And then already documented more than 450 Bawdis in this area of Rajasthan. And we are involving public so that we can, whenever we restore it, they can sustain it and they use it.
Hmm.
Otherwise, as a school, we document it, we restore it, and then because we have pumps and all, so people hardly use it and take pains. So
Hmm.
what we did is organize some, use it as a OAT and organize some cultural festival, dance, music, drama, this and that to make it multi-purpose usage of that temple. Yeah.
Which school of architecture do you belong to, Vinny?
School of Architecture.
Oh, lovely. Wonderful, wonderful work. In fact, you also mentioned Jaisalmer. I think it was in 1992 or some such thing that I was in Jaisalmer for 6 months with a small team of vernacular architects, and we were trying to study the carrying capacity of the fort. And today I find, I was there maybe a year ago, I find that the population has gone up to as much as about 30,000, I think, there, if I remember right. And yet the water capacity of the fort, fantastic. It holds. It's amazing. This is built, in 1860 or 1870 or so.
Yeah.
And for a population which was probably a tenth of what it is today. That is urban planning, if you ask me. Many of you who study urban planning will know what that means. Nikhil Raj, I'm so glad you raised your hand. There you are. You can now speak. You can unmute and speak, please, Nikhil Raj. Tell us where you are from and please speak. You can unmute. Yes, please. Yes, thank Nikhil. Please speak. Nikhil Raj, please speak. Nikhil, you can speak. No, it's not.
He's
Nikhil,
No,
muted.
he
yeah,
is unmuted, but he is not.
I know he's not speaking. I don't know why.
Am I audible
Adrian,
now, sir?
Yes,
yes,
Hello.
yes,
Ah,
yes.
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
There you now.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Nikhil Raj. I'm currently pursuing MBA from RICS School of Built Environment. And I found today's session extremely insightful, especially the way you connected traditional water management system and modern sustainability challenges. So I just want to ask you a question, like if you were advising a real estate developer today, what water management feature from traditional architecture you would strongly recommend incorporating into the modern project, particularly in urban management?
Okay, so what area are you looking at? Are you looking at a city or are you looking at a rural area?
Into the urban cities, correct? Right.
Okay. I'm not familiar exactly with Nasik, but anyway, I think generically speaking, most cities would have come up along a river or a stream or something like that, or near a lake, like Bhopal has lakes. Now, the first thing to do is to identify and map and demarcate whatever blue resources are available, whether it's a river or a lake or any other structure, and other structures like bowdies or wells or things like that. And that information now you can crowdsource. So you don't need to physically run around and map those. And you can also use Google Earth. So the multiple tools available for you to be able to map those resources. Alongside that, you will need two other points of data. One is the rainfall data, how much is there and when the rainfall comes, and the groundwater data, and that you can get from the Central Groundwater Board or even the State Groundwater Board. They should be able to give you that kind of information. Now, once you have that, it would be interesting to map the catchment areas and the command area, that is the upstream and downstream for all your water resources. So if it's a lake, for instance, there will be a catchment area from where the water flows into the lake, or a river as it runs through the city. Also, the water from different channels would be entering the river. So if you can map that, then you get an idea of where the water source is getting its inputs, where are the input sources. Then you can also
Nikhil,
quantify.
sure. Nikhil, I will add my 2 cents to it.
Yes, sir.
Remember the 4 Cs. There is a connect between the catchment, the collection of water that you can do, and the consumption of water, right?
Yes,
If I'm
sir.
in Nashik, you have about 1000 mm approximately, right? And if you have 1000 mm, if you have 1000 square feet of a rooftop, you can get 1 lakh liters of water in that period of the monsoon. Okay. Now, how you
Okay.
hold that water, you might not need all of that 1 lakh liter in say 4 months that you get your info in Nashik. So what do? The trick is to hold water. If you notice today, in this 1 hour plus that our Nitya sir has been speaking, he's constantly talking about tanks, he's talking about storage. Today, people will tell you that storage is expensive. It is not. It is an excuse for not doing, right? And we can take this
Definitely, sir.
conversation separately with you, Nikhil, to see how we can help you, no matter what that is, depending upon what you want to do this water for. Thank you, Jay, for being here. Grateful to you for having inspired the
Bye-bye.
students. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Let's listen to Adrian. Adrian, your context is slightly different. It is rural, and for you, water is about storing for crops. Please tell us what you learned from what our Nitya Jacob is offering today.
Yeah, thank you everyone for the opportunity. Sir, I have received your book from Amazon last time I got a link. So this is the live example, that video, what is there in the book, so I can hear from that. So it's a book, so I can get a practical one. So like what here it is in Karnataka Kalyani or some of the fort and all. But the context to the architecture, thanks for that technology, and we are wanting that in our rural region. So what is lacking nowadays? So the thing is, like we had a village walk, like we are working with villagers, identifying the problems of the water from the village itself. So the thing is, we are lacking in the resources of knowledge and designing. Then what designing had from the government, from the engineers. So this should be reviewed, like the channel. Same thing, and the students like architecture, they can give the suggestions. So what is the new technology can be used, and though it is taking time in the thing is the local engineering colleges like civil engineering department. So I found the environment service some of so they can come, like there are many colleges nowadays, so they can come and take a particular panchayat in their region. They can develop the designing rural storage. So natural storage is a pond, the spring water which comes from pond. Before that, it's get into the dam, like for the drinking water. Before that, it should be stored in a rural area, like the pond could be developed. Many ponds are there, like waiting for to rejuvenate them. So we are planning that.
What,
The
what would
corporation.
be, Adrian Machado, what would be your message for students of architecture? Do you believe that they can pursue a career beyond architecture in these spaces of water and, of course, earn a decent living? Do you think so?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is the basic one. So whatever the government provides everything by taxes and all, water is the major requirement. So whatever our city now Mangalore is planning for the rationing the water. So this is the important one. The people have to put a leaf and store the water. This is happening now. So plus minus days, like Delhi, what the giving the transportation plus minus the vehicle. So the same happening in the water. So it should be like renewable energy and all. So the water is mainly connected, and students should allowed with the government authorities to experience the government what is and the colleges. So this can be developed in our future
Got that.
consequences of water.
Got
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. We have another, say, 3-4 minutes. If anyone among the faculty want to sort of sum up or say something which can be a message that inspires the kids, please do. Otherwise, we will request our Nitya Jacob to wind it up with some concluding notes that he wants to offer. And I'm very happy that both institutions are saying that you will find a way of either doing a studio or doing a project with him. Anyone who wants to speak, please. I'm very, very glad to hear what Vineet told us about. Fantastic work if he's like guiding his students to do that. Anyone who wants to speak up? Madhubhanti, any last words for the students here that can inspire them to work on water? Or Rachna Rajpal or Jyoti Singh. Yeah.
I just want to say, what Vineet was talking about, trying to revive structures. Just thing to keep in mind would be to look at what these structures were originally made of. If they were made of stone, then to use matching material or use the same material to the extent possible. If it was wood, then to find the same type of wood, which is unlikely, but it's usually either stone or some kind of concrete, which was in use before cement came in. Those kind of materials, simply because it's easy to find them locally and they're far more durable than using steel and cement. Try and bring those into any kind of revival or repair or rejuvenation plan.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, remember one more thing. It's a good rule of thumb to keep in mind. It costs you approximately, I would reckon, 1 rupee 50 paisa per liter of water if I'm doing the kind of structures he talked about. In fact, that kind of clay coating that he talked about, it's called bentonite coating. Today, we do it as bentonite. In those days, they did it with clay, is not more than 1.5 rupee 50 paisa per liter of water. So if I have, let us say, somebody mentioned 10,000 square yards, I think it was Germany over. Let's take a very simple one. I've got, let us say, only say 10 meters by 10 meters. I've got 100 square meters. That's 1,000 square feet. Let's say that 100 square meters, and I trench for about 3 meters. 3 meters become 300 square meters. That's 300,000 liters. Therefore, 1 square meter is 1 cubic meter, right? If I have 1 meter only. So with just 10 meter by 10 meter, that's how much is that? 100 feet by 100 feet. You can hold 3 lakh liters of water. Remember that. See, what is 100 square meters, 10 by 10? In an acre of 4,200 square meters or so, 100 square meters, you know how much it is? Not even 5%. And remember the other thing that Nitya Jacob told you. Rainwater is soft water. You can cook easily with that. Borewell water is hard water, has high total dissolved solids, TDS that is. It also brings in your parts of the world, Delhi and the entire Gangetic Basin, it brings arsenic, it brings fluoride, it brings iron, nitrates, all of these things that you do not need, right? If you go towards Calcutta, you will find it to be very, very high on if not arsenic, it will be one of the other heavy metals of that kind. So keep this in mind. I can tell you, if you're an architect, you will find ways of building a career around water, even if you're in the business of building buildings. I think India needs a lot more of you to move to that 70% of the land to rural India. We are 770 districts. And you must move away from this 2% of the land of the landmass of India called your cities. The cities are bringing misery to everybody. Please move away from here if possible, while you, of course, make a decent living. So, like Emerson said, how do you balance living and making a living? That's all as a thought I will leave with you all. Thank you so much for being present here in reasonable numbers. Thank you, Yatin. Thank you, Nitya Jacob, for being here. And come aboard to you, Dr. Jyoti Singh. I will say, welcome aboard this wonderful, consortium of about 50 plus colleges that we have at the Prem Jain Memorial Trust. And I'm very, very glad that Anupam Mishra's name was taken today. Wonderful man, one of the few people that I have hugely respected and admired, like Dr. Jain. People like them are forgotten sometimes. They are legends. In their time, they were. And over years, what happens is with another generation or so, people forget such people. And this is another reason for me to remember Dr. Prem Jain today. Payal Jain, anything you want to mention?
Nothing, just thank you very much, Mr. Jacob. Very, very interesting presentation. Really enjoyed it. Sorry, I kept my computer off, but really enjoyed it. Thank you. And I think, as did everybody else, I saw so much interaction, lots of comments, lots of thoughts. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Payal, for being here today. You seem to have the time also to be present and to listen. Nitya, we will catch up. There's so much to do in this country. And if these colleges come back to you, and I'm absolutely certain that you will give them time and attention and see how you can guide them into doing projects or studios, whatever they prefer. And thanks so much. We'll sign off now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ali.
Yatin, I thank you. Sorry, Yatin, I think we have slipped past your 4:15 deadline by about 10,
No,
15
we are okay.
minutes.
We are okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
We
Nitya
have
sir.
Jyoti,
Thank
for your
you.
time.
we still have everybody here, Doctor. Very few people have
Look at that. It's
So
amazing. Very
it was a
nice.
very exciting presentation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you once again, Nitya. Yeah.
Bye. Good
I will
night.
sign off now. Yeah. Bye. Bye. Have a great weekend. Thank you. Bye.